Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector. Hopefully, you are having a solid Tuesday. I wanted to talk this morning really quickly about the idea of the PS3 price increases and whether or not they have already been pushed out of reach. Now, GameStop has had a significant hand in pushing certain PlayStation 3 games well out of reach. A lot of these games, the prices have been influenced by different things, whether it's just hype surrounding the game, a movie release that influenced the price of the game, and we've seen some of these games just kind of shoot up. There were already PS3 games that were pricey, but we definitely saw the hand that GameStop played in helping to propel some of these PlayStation 3 prices. Now, I have a stack of games here that I had in my collection for some time and a few others that I didn't pick up from GameStop, but I do have a stack of games that I picked up from GameStop that I want to run through just to kind of talk about how GameStop definitely has influenced the prices of some of these games. When you look at games like Silent Hill Downpour, a game that is probably in the 60s, GameStop at one point still had this game for around 27 bucks, but it slowly crept up. And the last time I saw this game at GameStop, I believe it was in the 50s. You have another game like Wolverine, the X-Men Origins game. This was a game that easily was a $27 game about a year ago. Now, if you run into this game at a GameStop, minimum you're going to be paying is $75. I think I even saw this up to $80 at GameStop. So this is definitely a game that suffered from hype. This was definitely a hyped up game, especially after the Deadpool Wolverine movie. I don't know if this one's come back down or how much it's come back down, but I'm pretty sure it's still at least a $100 game. Then you have a game like The Godfather, which this one's a little bit different because this is a game that I don't really know if there was any hype surrounding this game. I think this had just always been somewhat of an expensive game. My copy is like trashed. This is a copy that I picked up from GameStop used. But this is a rather expensive game. This is a game that's definitely over $100. The Don's Edition, it's a very interesting game. It's a fun kind of like beat 'em up style game with a really cool story. I'm always into beat 'em ups. The graphics are pretty good too. So, but this is one that, you would think that GameStop might have at a moderate price, but no, this one was also in the GameStop will have this one in the 70s as well. Then you have a game like Armored Core, and I'm glad I left the price tag on this one, but you have Armored Core for Answer, $80 from GameStop, right? Now this is probably like a $75 to $80 game, but there was a time where a game like this at GameStop still would have wound up being around $36, $37. And why am I bringing up the older prices of these games is because when GameStop still had these PlayStation 3 games at those lower prices, it helped to keep the PlayStation 3 from entering the stratosphere of like a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 1, where you kind of already know that like most game hunters know, that if you go out and you run into a PlayStation 1 game that's somewhat good, that's like decent, you're going to be paying 40, 30, 40, $50 for that game. You're not going to run into a game like a PlayStation 1 game or PlayStation 2 game that's a really good game, or kind of like a somewhat rare game, and pay $5 or $10 for it. Especially not from like a game store. Maybe if you're at a thrift, maybe if you're at a flea market or something like that. But even thrift stores and GameStops know that these games are more expensive. They're looking up the prices now. And this is just kind of helping to propel the games into that higher stratosphere. Of course, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. This has been a game that's always, GameStop has always had their pulse on the Spider-Man games. So these ones have steadily increased over time. And they match the current price. So this is easily going to be a $59 to $65 game at GameStop. And then Web of Shadows, surprisingly enough, the last few times I found Web of Shadows, it wasn't like, it's crazy that they have like Armored Core and Wolverine priced higher than Web of Shadows, when I believe Web of Shadows is actually the more expensive game, because this is like a $110 game on the PlayStation 3. It doesn't go for as much on the 360, but it's definitely a more pricey game on the PS3. So, I mean, GameStop Definitely, definitely. GameStop keeping up with the online prices for these games has definitely helped to push the PS3 into that PS1, PS2 realm a lot sooner. There's still hope for the PlayStation 4 because I don't think a lot of the PlayStation 4 games have been pushed into that realm yet. But the PlayStation 3 is definitely there, especially when it comes to the good games. Now, there were games that I've had in my collection for some time, and I got a lot of these games a while back, so I can't even fully remember what I paid for them. But a lot of these games now are definitely 40 and up. And these are some of the games that you don't see at GameStop too often. I've seen a game like Folklore on GameStop's website before, but I mean, it's a long shot getting the game like complete in box. And this is one of those ones that I would definitely want to have complete if I picked it up from GameStop. My copy is super complete. But Folklore is one of those games that, you know, you may or may not find at GameStop. Blades of Time is another one. This is kind of like this is a really good game. I actually had this on the 360 as well. This is a really cool hack and slash game. It's a beautiful game. Konami classic right there. Games like Splatterhouse. This is one that I have not seen at GameStop before. I picked this up a while ago. I really like this game. Splatterhouse is very unique. The way it plays, it almost feels like Venom because throughout the game, like the main character is really just a dude who's trying to save his girlfriend, but he like makes a pact with like a demon or the devil or something that basically takes over his body, and that's when he becomes the figure that you see in the game with the mask. But that figure is like a spirit, it's an entity, and they're communicating between each other throughout the game. So it has like this whole Eddie Brock Venom type of feel, which I thought was pretty cool when I played this game. But this is a very cool game, very unique style game, very good 3D beat 'em up. I really like this one. Yakuza Dead Souls is another one that's a really expensive PS3 game that's kind of gotten into that, you know, stratosphere. Of course, you have the Saw games, you know, Saw, you've got Saw 1, and then you've got Saw 2. Saw 1 isn't quite as expensive as Saw 2, but they're both pretty scary, pretty intense games for sure. Fist of the North Star, Ken's Rage is another one. Not super common, but, you know, really cool beat 'em up on the PS3. And then you've got some really cool RPGs like Trinity, Souls of Zilkol. I don't even know how you say that. But another one. So like you've got these PS3 games that, you know, are going up in value. They're going up in price and they're kind of getting out of reach. And a lot of people, yes, we can say GameStop's influence on it, but I tend to see a lot of comments on my channel that really say, you know, YouTubers highlighting these games are what's making them so expensive. And if YouTubers would shut up about these games, they wouldn't shoot up in price. I feel two ways about that. I would not know about some of the most amazing games in my collection if it weren't for YouTubers. Seriously. One shout out that I have to give is to this dude, Sega Lord X. Sega Lord X, if you've never checked out his channel, really awesome guy. Like this dude has put me on to so many games that I just never realized existed. And just because as a kid, I never had a chance to play them. Like I never had an import Sega Saturn as a kid. So when I went to his channel and learned about Hyperduel, it changed my life. Like Hyperduel is my favorite shoot 'em up of all time. But if it wasn't for Sega Lord X, I never would have known about that game. Now, it's not like when he talked about Hyperduel, the price shot up. Hyperduel had always been an expensive game. It's just that now more people know about this expensive game. And I don't really believe in like keeping good games a secret. If you talk about a game that's good and a lot of people want the game, the price is going to go up. That's just the way it goes. So, and do YouTubers influence it? For sure. I think YouTubers have an impact on, you know, the price of games going up in certain cases. Do I think a small channel like mine has that impact? No, but I think like maybe a Metal Jesus, for sure, he'll have that impact. Maybe a Beat 'em Ups, he might have that impact. Maybe a Radical Reggie might have that impact. True influencers who have been in the game for a long time, they might have that impact. But what I tend to see is that a lot of the games they talk about, they've already been somewhat expensive. And it just draws more attention. The cool thing about me is that a lot of the games that I'm into, they're very niche. They're very, they're not like a, what's that game that everyone wants on the Super Nintendo? The one with, geez, it completely left me now. I cannot remember. There's a Super Nintendo game that everybody always wants. You can let me know down in the comment. The main character is in Smash Bros. And I completely drew a blank on this game. It's an RPG. I can't remember it right now. But it's not like one of those super popular games that everybody's, going after or looking for. I typically like to go for the stuff that, not a lot of people, at least I would think that not a lot of people are into. And I think a lot of times what happens with some of the games that shoot up in price is just they didn't really have a high print run, so that also impacts it. But the PlayStation 3, it's definitely hitting that point where, or if it hasn't hit it already, where a lot of the better games are getting to that point of beyond reach, where you can't really get to them. Now, the good thing about the PlayStation 3 that I would say right now is that there is still a large variety of mid-tier. When I say mid-tier, I mean pricing wise, meaning these are games that are probably between 25 and 45 bucks. They have a lot of those types of games on the PS3 that you can still get before they go crazy, like, Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3, Wet, Silent Hill Collection, Drakengard 3, the Transformers games, Alice in Madness Returns, Ultimate Alliance, Afro Samurai, Nier, the Castlevania collection. There's a lot of games, Killer is Dead. There's a lot of really good games on the PlayStation 3 that you can take advantage of before it goes crazy. It's just a lot of times people don't really want games until they've gone crazy or until they look like they're shooting up in value. And I think that's what we see happen. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If you're hunting, have you completely given up on Gen 6 and older? Is that completely out of your price range and now you're pretty much just collecting for Gen 7 and newer? Do you think that there's still room to run on the PS3, or do you think it's completely maxed out? Let me know down in the comments, and I will catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.